All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today on this Wednesday afternoon, right before a long break. We know that you are super excited and ready to take some well-deserved time off, but we're so excited to have you here today with us with Heather Thompson, the Director of Education Abroad with Texas Global. And she's here going to give you an introduction to everything that is the study abroad experience and to answer any questions that you might have following her presentation. Feel free to send questions in the chat throughout the presentation, but just know that she might not get a chance to get to those questions until after she is finished with her presentation. She has already shared some information with me to share with you all after this presentation. So if you would do me a favor, if you haven't gotten a chance yet to go to bit.ly and specifically TX Global 21 to sign in, it'll give you a chance to enter in your email and for me to share this information with you following the presentation. But Heather, thank you so much for joining us today and for giving up part of your afternoon to share all of this information with us. So with no further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, but thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely. Thanks, Michelle. How's everybody doing this afternoon? My voice, I've been on enough Zoom calls for everybody today, so I'm a little scratchy. So if at any time y'all can't hear me, Michelle will give me a thumbs up or thumbs down, but let me know how it's going. But super excited to see everybody today. I'm going to put me back in gallery view so I can see everybody. My internet is being all kinds of funny now. But glad to see everybody. I am very pleased to do this presentation for this particular cohort because I'll tell you why. Generally, the students from LCAE who come to a study abroad event are getting on a plane. Y'all are like the most dedicated, forward-thinking, ready to go kids. So I know that I'm talking to students who are really interested in international education, not students who are just here because a class requirement. So we'll use the next little bit. I think we've got, Michelle, 45 minutes together-ish.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, do I need to leave time for you to give any group updates or anything at the end?
No, not at all. This is all for you.
All right, so what I'll try to do is about a 30-minute presentation and then leave plenty of time for questions at the end. Okay, there we go. For some reason, I was only seeing 2 people. I was like, where did everybody else go? Oh my gosh, Elijah's kitten picture is hysterical. Now that I can see everybody's photos. Feel free to keep cameras on or cameras off, either way. I understand a lot of people have bad internet like me. So we'll do I'll do about a 30-minute presentation, all right? I do actually want to encourage you to follow along on your own web browser. So I am gonna share screen, but I know some people like to click faster than I'm clicking. So feel free to, split screen and follow along. And then at the end, I'll leave time for plenty of questions. So before we get started, because we've got a good number here so we can do some fun stuff in the chat. Before we get started, if you would, put in the chat for me if you have already traveled internationally, either with your family, or you can just put a yes, no, or state, yeah, just put a yes, no if you've traveled internationally before. Yes, Rodney. And then the second question is, if you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go? Y'all are what I call the drunk, the Kool-Aid kids. Like, like you're already travel many times, already travel experts. But not everybody, which is always fun too. South Korea, New Zealand. I was in New Zealand last year. It was so beautiful. Barcelona. My favorite, Italy. The Med. Michelle's like, I just want to go to the Med. Australia. Was anybody on the Zoom call that we did about a week and a half ago? We did a live info session from a Shark Tank in Australia. Was anybody on that Zoom? Oh, it was so cool. We may have to find it and replay it. I'm not sure if they videoed or not. It was really cool. There's a faculty-led program going to the Great Barrier Reef next summer. That's plenty of time to apply for still, which is really cool. That was really great. China, Thailand, Greece. I've been to Greece too. It's beautiful. Prague, Africa, Japan. Wonderful. Okay, well, that gives me a sense. So kind of all over the board. And then I know everybody on the call, Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, but everybody on the call is a freshman, right?
No, we've got
No.
varied interest. So we invited all of our students from all of our programs.
Okay, great. Okay.
I think most are freshmen and sophomores, but we've got a few that
Or
either
upperclassmen
are upperclassmen on the call or will be watching the
watching
video.
the video. Great. Okay, thanks for that reminder. Sorry, I just touched my glasses and I have fingerprints everywhere. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go over and share screen. If I can hit the right button. Okay, I'm going to take you to the Study Abroad Office's website. So we use the word study abroad and education abroad interchangeably. So you'll hear me slip back and forth between the two. But I do want to take a moment just before we get started to say what the difference is. So our office for decades was called the Study Abroad Office. And at that point in time, we were just doing study activities, meaning studying with a professor or studying at a foreign university, studying at a language school. So always around coursework. But in the last 5 years, the lens of what international activities look like for UT students has really shifted to be more about holistic education. That still includes study options, but now it also includes service learning, volunteer work, internships, of course. And so we brought in the naming convention to be more education abroad than just study abroad. But just for you all to know, that is the full scope of things at UT. One of the great things about UT is pretty much if you can dream it, we have it. Or if we don't have it, we can help you do it. So there's a preset number of kind of, if you will, like packaged, I think of it as like buying pre-made cookies. There's lots of pre-made programs, if you will. But then if you want to make your own batch of cookies, we can also help you customize whatever your international activity is. So I'm going to go over with you today what the preset options are, and then give you the resources on how to start a dialogue with my team if you have more questions about what your ideas are for international travel. Okay. Also, before I get started, I want to openly acknowledge COVID, the loveliness that is never going to be someone's dog's name, probably. But you will find at the top of our website some COVID resources. And I want to bring this up from the very beginning because while thanks to Michelle, some of you are freshmen and you're planning ahead. Some of you might be graduating seniors who are kind of on the last 6 months of your college career. And I want you all to know that we have had students doing international activities since August. We stopped for a period of time between May and August while we were assessing the world, if you will. Change over here, so I'm looking at y'all. But then after that, we did start resending students into international locations starting this fall. So there are students all around the world right now. And I'm actually going to scroll down on our website. If you scroll down, keep going, it's really long, to our blog, I really, really encourage you to read our blog. We have what we call global ambassadors who are all over the world right now writing blogs and video logs, vlogs, and they're just so inspirational. I read one last night that was, I don't think it's posted yet, it'll probably get posted next week, about a day in the life in Sweden during COVID. And it was written almost with poetic elegance. It's really beautiful stories. So I really encourage you all to read the blogs because these are students in country right this minute. These aren't kids from last year or 2 years ago or when they graduated. This is current. All right, so do take a look at that and read those stories. You can even sign up to get auto alerts to have them come to your email if you want on that page. We will, of course, also have students in country for the spring. So we're in the middle of getting the group of students. There's several hundred students that are in line right now to get on planes in January and February, and we'll be studying abroad all spring. And then we are moving forward with Maymester programs. I'll talk about those more in a minute, and summer study abroad programs. And then, of course, preparing for 21-22 like we would normally. So this is very unique. A lot of universities around the world have stopped sending students internationally. But UT really, really believes in the global element to your education and the fact that your careers and your lives will be global. and that even during COVID, we can support you going abroad safely, ethically, and responsibly. So, and financially viably, if that's even a verb. So know that you can't go everywhere. For example, Australia is closed right now. The Australian government is going to be closed. They've closed the borders until July. And that was a country's decision because of the health and safety of their population. And we have to respect that, of course. So no one's going into Australia right this minute. But there are plenty of students in Europe. There are students in Eastern Europe. There are students in Latin America. Almost every other region. I'm trying to think if there's one other region that's completely closed, but I can't think so right this minute. Now, are students experiencing things differently than normal? Sure. Students may have had to quarantine upon arrival. Maybe students are kind of like here in Austin, where some of your classes are online and some are in person. And then there are other places in the world where it's completely normal. Operations is normal. You're going to a building every day for classes, which is not what a lot of us can say these days here in Texas. So do know that. Do know too that we are mindful of your parents and their impressions. And so if they have questions, please do point them to our COVID resources pages, or if you do, and we'll be adding more information to that as we get into 2021. All right. So for me, it's just absolutely a story of hope and resilience, but it's also a story of you being prepared, especially if you go abroad within the next year, of you really being truly globally prepared, right? I was talking to someone this morning and I said, well, 3M hasn't stopped doing work around the world because of COVID, right? People that work at 3M in West Austin are still getting on planes to go to Malaysia, or getting on planes to go to Europe to do their business if they're not doing it through virtual calls. Just as people get on planes during other times when there are natural disasters or financial crises, like there were several years ago in Argentina. And we know that students who go abroad in general are more successful in their careers, get better jobs faster, and go through their career path faster than their peers. Why? Because you develop the skills that employers are looking for. You're adaptable, you're flexible, of course you're smart, of course you're well-traveled, but you're also better at using your critical thinking skills, because that's what international activities do for an individual. It makes you think outside the box every day, all day long, right? And going abroad during a COVID period is just going to expand those transferable skills even faster, right? It's going to make you more flexible, more adaptable, even faster than if we weren't in a COVID period. So I leave you with that because I know you're on the call because you want to go abroad, but I also want you to know that you can go abroad now. You don't have to wait till your senior year. Of course, we're having everybody make backup plans. Excuse me. But that is where we are right now. Okay. All right. Let me make sure that I'm to some degree monitoring the chat. Okay, we're doing good. All right, so let me get you started. So we're going to start with the top nav up here, but first I want to scroll down and show you these orange boxes. Rodney, you're right below me, so can you be my head nodder today? Can you see the orange boxes? Yes, okay, Rodney's my head nodder. Yee, who is directly under me on Zoom, gets to be the head nodder. All right, so I really want y'all to focus on starting with these 3 orange boxes. Okay, the Get Started is going to walk you through a 7-step process for thinking about how to go abroad. Some goal setting, watching some videos and attending advising, using our resources, which I'm going to go over today. Of course, speaking with your academic advisor about your plans, financial plans, passports, so on and so forth, okay? The second orange box is about finding a program, and then the third, finding resources. We do truly believe in helping you prepare holistically. We're going to help you prepare academically. We're going to help you prepare from a financial lens and from the logistics lens, right? How to buy a plane ticket, all that kind of stuff. But it really does take all 3 pieces, the health and safety, the academic, and the financial. It's kind of like a stool. You know how they say a stool, a three-pronged stool needs all 3 legs to be stable? We truly believe that. You need to have all 3 components to be successful while you're abroad. So let's start with looking at finding a program. When you go in to find a program, I'm going to go into the search in just a minute to show you some things, but I also want you to see that you can do research by major. You can look at different types of programs, and I'm going to go over these first by theme, if you will. Okay, let me make my screen just a little bit smaller so you can see those, see that list. Okay, the search is an interactive search, and after I explain these models, then I'll go into the search and show y'all a few examples. Okay, the by major section is going to give you tips and tricks for your major. It's not every single one. There's so many majors, we're building them out slowly, but it is also a good place to start looking at information. Okay. All right, sorry, my teenage daughter just came home. School must have just gotten out, so all my dogs just got it. All right, so let's start with the different models of study abroad. So you've got, remember I said a minute ago, you've got kind of the pre-made cookie model. There are basically 4 or 5 different kinds of programs that are kind of preset that have been in existence at UT for decades, literally almost 30, 40 years by now. The first one that I want to talk to you about is what we call a reciprocal exchange. This is where we have a partnership with another university. Okay, there's about 140 of these worldwide, and we're going to swap you, if you will, with that university. So for example, let me go to this page today. Let's use this one, University of Edinburgh. So maybe we have a partnership with the University of Edinburgh. So you would go to Edinburgh and a student with Edinburgh would come here. Now, it doesn't have to happen one-to-one every semester. It's over a multiple year period, but it is a direct university to university exchange. All right. The beauty of this model is that you stay enrolled at UT, you pay UT tuition, you're taking courses at a host university the same way you would take courses at UT. All the courses are in residence, they'll fit into your major just as if you never left campus. Okay, that's model 1. Model 2 is what we call affiliated programs. These are programs that are administered through partners. These are nonprofit agencies for the most part. There might be one that's a for-profit, but for the most part, they're nonprofit agencies based in America or sometimes in Europe that are helping us get you somewhere to do something very specific. For example, this is the list of them, this box right here. SIT is the School for International Training. This is a nonprofit out of Vermont that helps students go abroad for research and service learning. So if you wanted to go abroad and study basic language skills, do a research project maybe on refugees, and do kind of a coursework combined with a mini research paper, this is an amazing program. All of their programs are thematic. Children, peace and conflict studies, urban economic development, they're all thematic programs. So you would go to this, to their website and look at their program offerings. Some of these other ones, for example, some of the larger ones, AIFS and IES, for example, these are large organizations that have centers around the world, almost as if like a branch campus for UT, but we don't own it, someone else owns it. So you would go to their center, like for example, IES has a center in Madrid. You would go to the IES center in Madrid, you would take classes at their center, and then if you have enough Spanish, you might even take classes at a local university, almost like an exchange, but through IES, okay? So these organizations' program offerings are so vast, you really have to go to their website and look at what their offerings are, almost one by one. Okay, these programs are all going to be guaranteed credit and fulfill your degree requirements just like an exchange. Okay, all right, I'm going to skip Semester Plus because there's only one of those right now, and it may not be there next year. It's a faculty engagement, so I'm going to skip that. Then you have short-term programs. These are what most students hear about most often: Maymester programs or summer faculty-led programs. This is where you go abroad as a cohort with anywhere from 10 to, I don't know, DDCE's Maymester sometimes has 80 kids on it. So 10 to 80, but most are more like 15 to 25 of your newest and dearest best friends in the world. And you're going to go to a particular city, study a particular thing for anywhere from 4 to 6, actually 4 to 8 weeks. Okay. The deadlines for Maymesters and for summer are coming up in February. There's still time to apply. You can click on these links to see the full list. I'll show you some of that in just a minute. These again are all in residence credit. They're going to be specifically a specific course that you may or that you should need for your degree. They're not restricted by major generally. So if there's a math program, anybody who needs that math class could go. There are a few that are restricted for business majors only and a few that are restricted for engineering majors only, but engineering has some that are open to everybody because they want physicists to go on theirs, for example. Some of the business ones are open to anybody as well, it just depends. Okay, but you can look at those lists to see the full ones. Okay, there are semester faculty-led programs as well. They're on a different page, but there are just a few. I don't know if anybody's in architecture, but architecture has semester-long programs that are led by faculty members specifically, and so does social work. Okay. Now, the short-term programs that are by the faculty members, of course, there are short-term exchanges and short-term affiliates. We have lots of not lots, but there's probably about 15 university partners that work on an American model where they have a true summer school where you could go on exchange in the summer. Korea, Mexico, Australia, there's a few more, okay? Of course, the affiliates all have summer programs as well as semester, all right? All right, the next model is internships. I'm not going to show you too much about the internships today because we are launching a brand new internship portfolio after Thanksgiving. So check back, but let me just give you the teaser. You can do, these are internships that are credit optional, generally not for credit, more like a co-op or a true internship. Now they are not paid, okay? But these are internships where you're going to have a placement overseas in many places all around the world that are career building, post-graduation focused. You can go on these as early as the summer after your freshman year, okay, and all the way through. We see a lot of students who will do an international internship before they might apply for a domestic internship or a domestic internship and then an international internship later. Okay, so the information on these pages is not 100% out of date, but if you're really interested in internships, check back after Thanksgiving and these program pages will be refreshed. Okay, but we do offer lots of internships. You can internship in other ways though, and that's going to be on some of the new pages. For example, our reciprocal exchange partners in Sydney have internships. So you go to class, you go to 2 classes, and then you do a 50% internship. Lots of these combo models exist all over the world. So it's not like you have to go abroad just to take classes or just to do an internship. There are ways to do combos, whether during a semester or a summer. Okay. All right. Global Career Launch is a brand new project that is just a specific type of internship. I'm going to skip that for right now. And then there is research and service learning opportunities. If you're interested in those, you can look at them as well. Okay. Service learning can be all kinds of things. It can be more like volunteer work abroad. We don't personally support work abroad programs. So if you want to work abroad to actually earn money, that would be a whole different conversation. But there are different kinds of service learning activities. So if you're really into wanting to go abroad for a service learning activity, this page will guide you a little bit. But then your program coordinator or your advisor can give you more information on those. Okay. Okay. The meat of what you really want to play around with, though, is this thing that we call the search engine. Let's see. Somebody wanted to go to, if I remember correctly, Prague. So I'll do Czech Republic. Do Czech Republic. Do a search. It's going to pull up. Ronnie, do you see a search list? Yep. Okay. So you're going to see it's going to pop up 17 programs. It's going to pop up real specific programs that are faculty led. Here's the exchange. Here are those companies I talked about. They will have programs in Prague. Of course, you're not law, so don't go on the at law. And then there's some architecture programs. So as long as what you should be paying attention to is this open to column. And these are all sortable. You can sort them. But just remember to look at this. For example, if you're not law, you can't go on this. If you're not engineering, you can't go on this. So so just look at it, because I don't know what everybody's majors are. So this is ARC's architecture, right? Okay, but most programs are for everybody. When you open one of these up, and I'm going to have to stop sharing and then reshare. So give me 2 seconds because it doesn't follow you. Let me open up the exchange program to Prague and hope that Zoom will follow today. The other day, the share screen was being so persnickety. Yeah. All right. Rodney, can you see this Prague page? Okay. All right. So when you open up one of those links, it's going to open up what we call these detail pages. It's kind of the who, what, where, when, why about the program. It's going to give you an overview. It's going to tell you what majors or not majors, but what courses are available there. It's going to tell you information about the credit, eligibility, costs, so on and so forth. Click all the links, read around, click and read, okay? It's just like a mini research project that you can get lost in the, what do y'all call it, kind of down that wormhole. You can just click until you end up, I don't know, you end up in Prague and then you end up in Zimbabwe by the time you're done. You know, so just click around. 2 things about these program details. These area of studies do not mean that you have to be an accounting major to go. It means that's what this program teaches. One of the best things about study abroad programs is that for most of the programs, it's not exclusive to your major, right? So if Rodney is an undeclared liberal arts major, but he really wants to be in advertising someday, but he's not in Moody yet, well, we can still send him abroad in this program to take introduction to advertising courses without him being in Moody at UT, right? So it's kind of a loophole, a really cool loophole. Similarly, if you're going abroad for a minor or a certificate or a bridging disciplines activity, you might be looking at what the area of study is, not so much about what your major is, okay? Same thing, if you want to study business, but you're not in the business school, some of these programs, as long as they said all in that previous page, if you want to take business the way this one does, you could go and take business courses without being in McCombs. Okay, so that is one of the benefits of study abroad or education abroad activities. The other thing you're going to find on this page is costs. I'm not going to open this because it's going to open up another pop-up box that it won't show on Zoom, but do know that the complete costs are here. You can see the exact costs. There are lots of programs that are the same cost as Austin. There are programs that are more expensive than Austin, and then plenty of programs that are less expensive than Austin. So the number one thing people ask me all the time is, Heather, it's too expensive to go abroad. And my answer is, really? Really? Have you checked the search engine? Because I can send you lots of places that are cheaper than Austin. I'm going to open this one just because I'm curious. Like this one that I'm looking at, actually, I'm going to stop sharing to share all this because it makes the point really clear. Hang on, I'll go back. Here's what the budget page looks like. It's a little tan box. You see a tan box, Rodney? Yep. Y'all see how this program is $12,000? That's cheaper than being in Austin, Texas. On average, we all pay anywhere from $13,000 to $15,000 per semester. Once you pay tuition, room and board, cost of living, night out on the town, car, all that. Okay, this is a comprehensive budget, cheaper than Austin. Okay, so if your parents are like, no, you can't go abroad, it's too expensive, you can say, well, Miss Heather said that's not true. And Miss Heather's going to tell you about scholarships in just a minute. Okay, now, if you want to go to the most expensive city in the world, Tokyo, Paris, London is not the same cost as Austin, Texas, right? So you might need to decide, do you really need to live in London, or could you live outside of London where it's cheaper and just go into London every now and then to visit, right? Do you really need to live in Tokyo? Do you really want to commute an hour to school every day in Tokyo? Or could you live outside of Tokyo at some really cool schools, maybe an hour outside and study, and go into Tokyo for the Olympics? It just has to do with your perspective, right? I speak French. I always wanted to live in Paris. And after my first visit to Paris, I was like, oh no, I don't want to live in Paris. This is exhausting. And even now when I go to Paris, I'm like, I'm worn out. And it's only been like 10 minutes. It's like, if you don't want to live in New York, then don't go to Paris, is what I tell people. Now, if you've always wanted to live in New York, then go for it. But if you don't like commuting, then you don't want to be in a big European city, because you're going to spend a lot of time on the metro. Okay. And your housing is not going to be directly across the street from your university, right?
So Heather, speaking of cost, Rodney in the chat asked if their regular financial aid covers that cost.
It does. And Rodney, I will get into that in 2 seconds. Great lead in. So I'll go right back to that. But the answer is yes, but I'll tell you how that works in just a minute. Okay. All right. Let me go back to, hang on, let me fix my internet screens real quick. Okay. So just know, let me stop sharing. Just know that, what? I told y'all my teenager's home. It was a mosquito, she says. Great. And Zoom calls are so much fun. So just know, again, that you can go anywhere in the world and do anything. You're at one of the biggest universities in the world. Our network across the world is huge. Now, of course, there's always one of you who's going to say, can I go to this little bitty town and so and so? I'm going to be like, well, probably, but I got to check on that for you. So, you know, you just never know. All right, let me go back to the main page. I'm going to show you the next thing, but let me make my screen the right size again. Okay, I want to show you one other thing. Get back into Zoom. So in addition to being able to look at programs by location or by on that search, you can look up by major, you can look up by combination of location and major. We also have something where you can search for where you need a class. The easiest way to get to it is if you go back in to get started. Oh, golly gee. Girls, that was the dog. If you go back down to number 3, the database is right here, but I want to show you the credit database. This is, hold on. Hey, would you put her out, please? This is going to show you where you could take a certain class. So maybe Rodney needs to take advertising abroad to stay on track for his major. Okay, he can go to this search engine, put in advertising, and maybe he's always wanted to go to Argentina. Click search. It's going to show you the programs in Argentina that teach advertising. In this case, it's one, just because it's a really specific search. And then he can click this to list. I've purposely showing you one that only has one. And you can see that this History of Argentina class had enough advertising credit, which seems slightly odd to me, but possible. I will check on that later. But to get this advertising credit, okay? I'm going to go back and do a bigger one. Here's the one people ask me all the time. I need to take Spanish 610 abroad because I need to finish my Spanish requirement, 610D. Where can I do Spanish 610D? It's got to pull up a list. Look, it's thinking. It's thinking. Oh, I hope I didn't make it mad. Oh, it's really thinking. The list isn't that big. Maybe I didn't click it. Let's do it again. Search. Please don't crash. It's not the search engine. It's going to be my internet if it crashes. So if I leave, I'll be right back.
I can pull it up. I watched.
I know. It's not coming now for some reason.
I think it might be the website because I tried to search something and it's taking forever.
Is it taking forever?
Yeah.
That's super weird.
Or maybe it's my internet too. So I don't know.
Like, yeah, maybe we hit the 4:30 internet doomsday.
It's probably
well, let's give it a minute. Oh, here it comes. Okay, so this is, I actually did Spain. So these are all the programs in Spain. Look how many that is. Actually, this is the world. All the programs that teach Spanish 610. Okay, now you can pick one or you can just list courses and it'll list them all. It's going to be a big list, so let's give it just a minute. But it's going to show you all the places that teach 610. Okay, so and then it's going to show you which program. And if you click on one of these, it's going to open up that little page like we were looking at a minute ago. So think of it as a circle. You can go in to search for a program and get to the program detail page, or you can search by class to get to the program detail page. Okay, now, the thing I want to tell you about this database, the search database is the comprehensive list of all approved programs at UT. You should start on that list, okay? The credit database is a historical list of the kids who went abroad before you and the credit they got. It is not comprehensive, right? I don't have every school and class at the University of Sydney mapped. I only have what the kids who have gone to Sydney mapped. So if you don't find what you're looking for in the credit database, don't freak out. Just email us and say, but Heather, I really want to go to Sydney to take advertising. Surely the University of Sydney teaches advertising. And then we'll help you go through the course review process and the course credit process. So just know the credit database is just a guide. It's a historical guide, not the be all end all. Okay, makes sense? Okay, I'm mindful of time. So let me flip back over. I want to show you the last thing, which is about the money. So let me go back to the main page and then I'll share screen again. So let's talk about the money for a minute, since we talked about the academics. So look at programs either through the academic lens, the programmatic lens, so on and so forth. But then once you're really thinking about where you're going to go, click on the funding resources page and you'll see that there are different pieces here. There's a whole section on scholarships that I'll talk about. If you are a first generation and college student, which I believe some of you may be, please make sure you look at these resources. There are specific scholarships for first gen. If you're thinking about taking out a loan, if you're a veteran, Texas Guaranteed Tuition Plan, and then there's some expenses information here that'll help you with your budgeting. But the main thing to know about the way the money works at UT is whatever money you have to go to school in Austin, 99% of that money will go with you. You can say, Heather, I'm a Terry Scholar. Will my money go? Yes. I'm a Dell Scholar. Yes. I'm a UT for me. Yes. I'm a ULN. Yes. I'm a President's Award. Yes. I'm a Pell Grant. Yes. I'm a UT tuition grant. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. UT is the most generous university when it comes to letting their money travel. Okay. Now, some of you don't know what money you have. So this is also a chance for you to be familiar with yourself. So if you don't know what money is paying for you to go to school, this is a great time to sit down with your parents and go, hey, Mom, how is this really working? How are we really doing this? Is it that your parents are contributing? Is it that you're working? Is it that you have scholarships or loans that are coming in from federal financial aid? Okay. It's really important to understand how your money works for Austin so we can help you understand how your money is going to work for your international location. Now, in addition to the money you have to go to school in Austin that will go with you, we can also help you and do help you apply for additional scholarships and additional loans if needed. So I want to focus mainly on the scholarships because what I find really is that you all somehow deem yourselves unworthy and then don't apply. And then I have money that I have to roll forward every year because everybody thought they weren't worthy and so they didn't apply. I don't care if you think you're rich, poor, purple. Apply for the scholarships and let me decide if you're worthy. Let me decide if you meet the criteria. Don't self-select, because what happens if no one applies and then I have all these, I don't know, let's just be crazy. All these kids who are millionaire kids apply. Well, some of my scholarships I have to give out no matter what. So that means the millionaire kids got the money that year, right? So make sure you apply, okay? We have tried to make it as easy as possible. And I'm going to show you the scholarship system. But in addition to going into the scholarship search engine, you have to actually click all these links. And I know you're like, Heather, seriously, can't you make that easier? And the answer is no. You got to work a little bit for it. Okay, so click them. It's not hard, y'all. Just click it and read. This is going to go into a list of scholarships. Just read them. See which ones you're eligible for. Okay. I love the list, especially about destination. If you're going to Asia, you better click on every one of these because you're probably eligible. Okay. UT students are crazy successful in getting free money, but the kids that are crazy successful are the ones that applied. If you don't apply, you will get nothing. Okay. So you're going to apply to several scholarships, not just one. There is not a single scholarship that will pay for everything. period. It is not possible. That kid that you've heard about is fictitious. All right. It's more like Legos. You know how you stack Legos, or, you know, something else that you stack. It's about starting with your UT money. Then you get scholarship 1, that's 1,000. Then scholarship 2, that's 2,000. Then you get maybe a grant from a foreign government, that's 2,000. And then maybe you have to take out a $500 loan. Maybe you have to take out a $5,000 loan. That's not our goal, right? We want to stack the free money, but you do need to be prepared for if you don't. Okay. I'll get back to some of the questions in the chat in just a second. So do make sure that you're looking at all of these scholarships. Bye. Teenager leaving again. If you are a Pell Grant student, know that your Pell Grant money goes with you. Okay. And then there's some additional resources at the bottom. There's special UT money if you're doing research and things, so on and so forth. Okay. Now, Global Assist, this is what I call the big green monster. I made it god awful green on purpose. You do need to remember the big green monster. Okay. And I locked my webmaster out of it, so he can't change the color. So, okay. This is where you're going to apply for most scholarships. Look at this list. This system is super cool though. You use it about 6 months before you're going abroad, and it matches you based on what you put in your application to scholarships you're eligible for. You don't have to read all of these little links. You can open them and read them, but you don't need to. Just go in and start playing around with it. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is that you don't just use this system to apply. You also use it to explore. So you can go in, every program at UT has a 6-digit code. So Rodney could go in and put in the code for an Argentina program and see what scholarships show up for Argentina. Then he could go grab the code for the Spain program, that's his second choice, put in the code for the Spain program and see what scholarships show up before he ever starts filling out his applications. Okay, that's what this tip is. You can use it to play around. You can't hurt it. Okay, I promise. I built it super smart. You can't hurt it. And if you screw up, I can cancel whatever you did out. Okay, so go in and mess around with it. And this is a great time of the year to try things out because there's so many in here right now for next year. It's a great time to do the kind of playing around methodology. Now, these scholarships do open at certain periods of time. So like if you start your scholarship search in the middle of the summer, this is going to have like one thing in it because no one's populated their scholarships yet for next year. But during this time of the year, most of the scholarships for 2021 are in here. Okay, but this is UT money. And the list I showed you a minute ago, this is UT and national money. So you can't just rely on the big green monster because some of the big money is from the federal government, like this Gilman scholarship, which is anywhere from $3,000 to $8,000. If you're a Pell student, you must apply for this. UT's success rate is like 95%. Okay, so it is about doing your research. So while you're researching your program, you're also going to research your money. All right. Oh, I want to show you one other thing before I forget. Hang on, let me go back. I lost you. I lost Rodney. Come back, Rodney. Okay, let me go back. I want to show you one other thing. I'm going to take your questions in just a second, but I want to show you back on our homepage. After today's session, what your next step is to use our web resources to, like I said, explore, click and point, click and point. But then your next step is going to be to get advised. Okay, so under Apply and Go is our advising tab. We're doing, of course, everything virtual right now. And what we've set up for you is a series of recordings that you can watch 24/7 on demand, and then live chat sessions with our staff. There, you can go to the general one, you can go to the one about internships, you can go to the one about faculty-led programs, you can go to the ones that are on region. You can go to all of them for all I care, okay? I've had one student go to almost everything. And they're every week, and these take you to the events on the weekly calendar. So that is your step. After you've done some research, after you've played around with our website, then pick one of these sessions to go to, watch the video, and then go to the Live Connect question and answer session. Okay, makes sense? All right, that's your 2 next steps. All right, with that, I'm going to stop sharing for just a minute. Let me go back to the chat. Let me see what questions have come up while I've been blabbering. All right, let me see. Michelle, there are also LCAE student-only scholarships. Yep, exactly. Jeremiah, what does it mean by expired approved? The equivalencies in the credit system are approved for a 5-year period. Again, it's a historical perspective. After that 5 years, we want you to know that someone took that class. But if you were to take it again, we would just have to do some administrative steps to get it, think of it as being renewed. My staff do that step for you. I promise you, we're going to make this easy on you. We're not going to make you chase professors down around campus. We might have you help us find a syllabi on some foreign school's website, but after that, we'll take it from there. So again, that database is just a historical view of what options are at different universities around the world. Okay. All right. Elijah, so I found one on the internship page, but separate from that, no. Yes, great question about speaking a language. So there are lots of places in the world where you do have to speak a language to be successful. Let me give you a good example. Germany. Germany, as forward-thinking as we think they are, their universities operate completely in German still. So they don't have a hybrid mix of courses in English and courses in German, really. So if you're going to Germany to study, yes, you might be able to go to the market and speak English to buy your bread, but you will not survive at the university if you're not fluent in German. Okay? So there are places like that, but do we have programs where we can send you to Germany to learn German 1 or German 2? Of course, right? There are other places in the world that people forget about the fact that they are actually English language educational systems. Sweden, Turkey, Greece, let me think who else, foreign languages. Spain actually is hybrid, half and half. Some of their universities are completely English and some are half and half. Did I say Turkey? Morocco, lots of places you could think of, especially places that unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your historical perspective, places that were formerly part of the British Empire. Their educational systems are English-based. South Korea, Singapore. Yes, you might want to learn Korean while you're in South Korea, but you will be just fine on the streets, in school, all in English. Okay. So if you're thinking about, like, I personally have a fascination with Istanbul. I have never gotten to go. I'm dying to go. And every time my husband says it, he's like, Heather, you don't speak Turkish or Arabic. I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's all in English. It's all in English. And I don't mean to be ethnocentric. I'm just being a realist, right? Do I believe in language study? Yes. Je parle français, je parle espagnol, je parle un peu allemand. Okay. But do I believe in language study? Absolutely. But would I go to Turkey in a heartbeat and study for a semester in English at Bozici? Yes, I would, in an instant. Okay, so just know that just because you don't have a language right now doesn't mean you can't go someplace that might seem more exotic. You're not, conscripted to Australia and England, right? Copenhagen, lots of different places. Okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
So I was looking at some of the programs and I noticed that in their funding, they don't include housing costs. And they say that, like, on that little information sheet, they talk about how, like, students will be staying in private housing. Like, is that not, like, do we pay that out of?
No, so if housing is not listed as a line item, it's included in the program fee that's right above it. Okay, so on that little tan box that had the budget.
Oh.
Okay, because that program fee probably looks a little big to you. Mm-hmm. That's because it has housing in it and meals probably. Okay, great question. It will say that on the page previously, Wafa. On the previous page, there's a little cost box. And if housing is included, normally it'll say something on there like housing and 2 meals a day are included in the program fee, for example. Okay. Now, a great question about housing. Most places that we work with that are internships, exchanges, or affiliates, you'll have a choice of 2 out of 3 housing. Here's the housing situation. It's either a dorm an apartment, or a homestay. Okay. Most places will offer you 2 of those 3 choices. The only places where you'll be kind of conscripted to your housing is on faculty-led programs. Faculty-led programs, you don't get to pick your housing. We pick the housing for the group. And it's almost always like it's either homestay or apartment style. Okay. We try our best not to do hotels. There's some really strange places where we might have to, but we try not to have y'all in hotels for 4 weeks. We try to have you in more like apartment living, like student apartment living. Okay. Let's see. We're just about out of time. Look at that. Always goes so fast, Michelle. What other questions might you all have?
I have a question. So I've never really been anywhere by myself. I've been like with school to like different states, but I've been to like Mexico and other countries, but with my mom or like my family.
Yeah.
So like doing something that's like by myself or an exchange or the house, like with a family house, that just sounds kind of scary to like be on my own.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the same thing. The first time I went abroad, I was 17. I don't even know how it happened. That's a whole nother story, but I ended up by myself in Europe at the age of 17. And I remember thinking, what in the world have I gotten myself into? But it's one, I want you to know that even when you go on a reciprocal exchange, you're not really by yourself. There's only a few places in the world where I might send you, Rodney, truly by yourself. Like even going to the University of Edinburgh on exchange, there's like 45 other UT students there with you, right? And they're probably living in the house from you down the street. Okay. Now maybe I send you to our program in Morocco. And maybe you're the only student from UT in Morocco, but I guarantee you there will be kids from Cal State, from Michigan State, from Penn State, NYU, Oxford, so on and so forth. They're at these programs, okay? And then as far as the housing goes, if you're not comfortable being in a homestay, again, we're never going to force you into a homestay unless, again, a faculty-led program is like that. But sometimes even the homestays, there's 2 people, 2 students. We do like the buddy system. So you might even be not always, like I said, by yourself. And we certainly want to support you in whatever makes you most comfortable. But we can work through those options with you as we're looking at each program. Same thing with flights. Some people are like, all right, I'm okay going to Edinburgh. I know I'll be okay once I get there, but I really would like a flight buddy. Cool. You're going to meet all the students that are going to the region you're going to before you go. Right? Like I said, we like the buddy system. And quite often, maybe you and who's got the cat, Elijah, maybe you and Elijah randomly end up going to Copenhagen together. And you're like, hey, why don't we fly together? It's going to make us, have somebody to hang out with and, make our parents more comfortable. It totally happens all the time with what would have been complete strangers, but now you're best friends for life because you're studying abroad in the same semester. So we can always help you with that. I know that even now when I go on work trips, I'm like, oh, I wonder if I could figure out how to take somebody with me. I like eating dinner by myself, those kinds of things. But you're really actually not, because even on the direct exchange programs, there are these cohorts that form, and they form on day 1 when you get there for orientation. Yeah.
Thank you. That makes me feel a lot better.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And
Heather,
it's funny too. Sometimes it's the Penn kids. I don't know why, but UT students and Penn kids are all over the world together. So I get all these stories every year of all these UT Penn cohorts that are studying and traveling together. There's something about our university's missions that are similar, but that's kind of a funny little oddity that happens too, is the interconnectedness between the big research schools in the US. Yes, Michelle.
Oh, I had a question for you that I put in the chat. So how much prep time do students need between when they decide that they want to do this process all the way through to actually going?
6 months generally.
6 months.
Okay. Now, my dream is to see you a year in advance. So if you want to go abroad what are we in? We're in fall. If you want to go abroad next fall, I really wanted to start talking to you now. Right? But do I actually need to start talking to you now? I can start talking to you 6 months out. The reason why I need the year is for the money. There are a few big scholarships that have a once a year deadline. And if I don't see you a year out, I can't always tell you to apply for them. But in general, 6 months is plenty. Like for now, if you want to go abroad this summer or May, this is plenty of time to do your research, your application to your program, and your application to your scholarships. In general, your scholarships and your program applications will be due at the same time, right? So you Maymesters, for example, the deadline's going to be Feb 1, your scholarships are Feb 15, for example, right? If you want to go abroad next fall, your deadline's going to be March 1, your scholarship's March 1. Okay, so 6 months. If you cut it any closer than 6 months, for example, you decide in March that you want to go abroad next summer, like you're at spring break, this happens every year. Kids go home for spring break, they get distracted and they're like, oh man, why didn't I decide to study abroad next summer? And now it's March and they come back and see me. The week after spring break is crazy busy in my office because everybody's like all the last minute people. And we will have some programs still open, but believe me, your options have decreased, okay, because the deadline was a month before. It's still possible, but the closer you get to when you're supposed to be getting on a plane, the fewer options you'll have, if that makes sense. Yeah. And if you're complex, like if you want me to help you design like something, I've got this music major who wants me to send him to The Hague. Anybody know this guy? He's crazy interesting, but he's complex. It's going to take me a year to figure out how to get him to The Hague. But he wants me to help him craft something very, very unique, right? He's not using a standard partnership, for example. So if you're in that unique category, then I need to see you now. Okay, let's see. True about flights. As the TA, I had plenty of students ask me about flights. Yep, exactly. It's not too late for summer, by no means. The summer deadlines will be February 1 or February 15th, depending on the program. You've got plenty of time to apply, and we're holding tons of info sessions right now for the summer programs. So go back to our website into the events calendar and choose some to go research. All of the faculty-led programs also, oh, I should find this link for y'all real quick. All the faculty members made YouTube videos this year. So there are some crazy funny faculty YouTube videos on the Texas Global YouTube channel. And you can go watch, the photography professor's video or the Great Barrier Reef professor's video to kind of get a sense of it before you go to their info sessions if you want. Yes, as far as contact, you do not want to get stuck in my personal inbox as much as I love y'all. So you're going to write to Education Abroad at Austin. My full-time staff read this all day long. All right, they will get back to you very quickly. So if you have a question or you get confused, just write to Education Abroad at Austin. Okay. I personally do all the finance sessions, and we did them every other week all fall. I'll do that again in the spring. So we'll do Tuesday afternoon financial 101 sessions all spring. So if you want to talk more about money, you can see me later on in the year about money. It's a come and go for whoever wants to come every other week. So those will be on the events calendar too. Right now, Jeremiah, we're not actually doing one-on-ones. We're actually trying as much as we can, because there's just so many hours on Zoom a day, to do small group. So when you go to that live Q&A that I was showing you on the virtual advising website, those live Q&As, generally every week, it's 3 to 5 students. They're actually quite personal, and it's a great way to meet people. We've already seen students being like, oh, you're at the Africa one too, sharing their IMs, already meeting people at the information level instead of waiting even till the acceptance level. So we have found that by doing small group, it's really, one, supporting my staff's time, but 2, connecting you all, because you're not having a chance to like meet people in the coffee shop and things. So it's actually a great way to meet people right now, especially for those of you that might be new to campus. So, but you will, like I said, my full-time staff run all the Q&A sessions, the Live Connect sessions. That is where you'll meet your regional advisors, or your faculty-led program coordinator will be at those events. Okay, that's how you'll meet the real people, if you will. I wish we could do one-on-ones, but even with COVID and our numbers being down a little bit, we're still crazy busy. So and we don't have peer advisors this semester. Normally we would have peer advisors that y'all speak with, but we didn't put our peer advisors on payroll during this fall just to kind of test the waters. So, you know, it's kind of a bittersweet y'all having access to us this semester. So thank you for your patience. All right. Any other questions? My stay till the enders.
Yeah. Heather, thank you so much for all of this information. For so many students, it's meeting with someone and figuring out how to navigate the system.
Exactly.
That is the biggest obstacle. So thank you so much for providing us with all of this information. I know I learned a lot. And I know a good chunk, so I can only imagine how beneficial it's been for everyone here.
Yeah,
So.
and we get it. And I get it that, you know, Rodney, as much as he's been my head nodder and following along, he's going to get off this call and go, oh my God, I wish I'd asked for this. Just email us. Just email us or come to a live connect tonight, right? You know, or you're like, I know she said something about some really crazy money for Pell, but I can't remember what it was. Email us. We're happy to redirect you. We know there's a lot to take in. And that's our goal, is to be here to support you and guide you. So thank you, Michelle. All right.
All right, guys. Well, if you're wanting a copy of this presentation, I will be uploading it and we'll send it all out to the emails that you signed in with, as well as all of the information that was shared in the chat. I will copy and get that to you as well. It'll probably be a day or two.
Great. All right. Thank you, everybody. Rodney, thank you for being my head nodder. All right. Good to see everybody. Have a good rest of your evening.
All right.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.